What's up, guys? Matt Day here, and as you guys know, last month, Molly, Nora, and myself, we went to Vegas for a few days. I was there to work at WPPI, and then after that, we spent a few days just exploring Vegas, visiting with some friends out there, and I shot a lot of photos while we were there, and after sharing some of the photos on Instagram, a lot of you guys wanted to basically hear a little bit more about the photos, how I metered, stuff like that. So that's what I'm going to be sharing with you guys today. Full disclaimer right off the bat, Vegas didn't pay me to make this video here. They're not hiring me to sell you on Las Vegas or anything. So don't be alarmed. This isn't a paid or advertisement for anything. This is just me sharing my own photos. Yeah, and again, I'm not a professional landscape shooter. This is just stuff that I saw, that I shot. And, photos I liked, photos of, what I saw and how I saw it. And, I wanted to really try and shoot things that I wasn't used to seeing, because here in Ohio, we don't have this kind of landscape scenery to shoot. We have our own, but definitely nothing like this. It's just a really different kind of world out there. So I'm going to be sharing some photos for you guys today and kind of talking about what I was shooting. Everything you're going to be seeing is color negative film. I did shoot some black and white, but lately I've been shooting more and more color, and I want to be able to talk a little bit more about it on the channel because that's what I've been shooting. So today that's what we're going to be focusing on. You're going to be seeing photos from Portra 400 and Ektar 100. And the Portra 400, that's what I shot the majority of because that's probably my favorite color negative film stock. Maybe a close tie between Portra 160 and Portra 400, but lately I've been shooting Portra 400 and really, really happy with what I've been getting. But what I've been shooting with, at least for this trip, this is the Hasselblad 500cm. You guys know I love this camera. It's a 6x6 medium format camera. Definitely one of my favorites that I have, that I've ever had for that matter. And I shot pretty much everything with this. The fact that it's a 6x6 camera, but it's relatively small, I pretty much had it with me everywhere and shot a ton of film with this thing. Everything I shot on this also was with the 80mm f2.8C, and that's just because that's the only lens I have. I love it. Everything in 35mm that you're going to be seeing is all Portra 400, and it was all shot with my Nikon FM2. And this has the 50mm f1.8 AIS lens on it. Here lately, honestly, this has kind of put my Leica M6 on the bench because I've been shooting this nonstop. I don't know what it is lately. I've been kind of gravitating more towards an SLR over a rangefinder. Again, I'm not sure what it is. I've also been gravitating more towards the 50mm focal length than 35. These things kind of change with me from time to time, but lately that's really what I've been mainly shooting with. Especially whenever I just have a camera with me and I want to, always have a camera on me and shooting just kind of daily life. This has been my go-to. So that was all shot with the 50mm f1.8 AIS. I did actually just pick up this 50mm f1.2 AIS lens, and I haven't actually seen any of the photos I've shot with this yet, but I'm excited to check those out. This is a lens I've always wanted, and yeah, I found a really good deal on it, figured I'd jump on it, so I'm excited to see what comes of that. But for these photos in particular, 50mm f1.8 AIS, and the way I was metering for all of this was with my Sekonic L308B. Really, really simple light meter, and what I was doing with color negative film is I was exposing for the shadows, and on top of that I was also adding a stop of exposure just by rating the film at ISO 200. So with color negative film, it's a really good idea to make sure you're on the side of overexposure because it's really, really hard to lose highlight detail in color negative film. I mean, I've seen people overexpose color negative film like 5 or 6 stops at least, and they still have highlight detail. I'm not recommending that by any means, but you can really get away with a lot of exposure on a single frame. So if you're ever metering and kind of in doubt on what to do, it's not really a bad idea to add an extra level of exposure on there, or an extra stop, I should say. So what I did for exposing for the color negative film, particularly Portra 400, because that's what we're going to start with. I set my meter to 200 because I want to add a little bit of exposure there, so that's already a one-stop difference from Portra 400 being a 400 speed film. I would set it to 200 and then I would expose for the shadows. So if I'm exposing for the shadows, obviously my highlights are going to be at an even higher level of exposure just because it's a brighter area. So set the meter to 200, expose for the shadows, and I would basically try and expose for the darkest area of the scene. If I was shooting a portrait of somebody, it would kind of be right up really, really close, maybe a little bit under the chin. But if I was shooting, say a landscape and, I couldn't actually get and put my meter in that exact scene, I would just kind of recreate that kind of light. If I knew it was in the shade, I would just kind of make sure this was shaded, because unfortunately, like, most Sekonic light meters where you can actually retract the bulb and get the bulb in, whenever this is, backlit by something, it's still going to catch a little bit of this bulb right here. So what I would do is I would just kind of cup my hand over it to make sure it wasn't, clipping anything up at the top. And that was all I had to do. I would set my exposure, or get my reading, set my exposure on the camera, and then I wouldn't have to adjust it. And the nice thing about shooting Portra 400 in both of these cameras is I'm exposing them both the same way. I take a reading, and no matter which camera I'm using, I know where I'm at. So that was a really nice thing as well. But at first, yeah, we'll just go ahead and take a look at some of these photos. This is Portra 400 in the Hasselblad. These are going through Red Rock Canyon there in Vegas, or it's, a little bit outside of Vegas, but really quick drive. Molly, Nora, and myself, we went out there, and I shot a ton of photos. So, for instance, this first photo right here, this cactus plant, whatever, I'm not used to seeing this kind of stuff, so, I don't know the technical names here. But yeah, I would just set my my meter in the shadows there, expose for that, and we're good to go. And also, just so you guys know, I didn't have to tell the lab. I didn't have to tell the lab anything as far as, what to do with my film by overexposing it, setting my meter to 200. That's just how I personally shoot Portra 400, and I don't have to tell them anything. I don't have to have them pull it, which I wouldn't recommend pulling color negative film. I don't have to tell them to do anything different. I just overexpose it, it's good to go, and that's it. Another photo right here, just some different greenery. Again, exposing for the shadows. You still have good detail in the highlights, like where the light's hitting some of these branches there. Another landscape shot here. Just seeing the difference in the scenery from Ohio to Vegas is like night and day. Everything was just so dry out there and just tan, and it was a really, really different thing. Here in Ohio, we're used to seeing pretty much just greens everywhere, and that's pretty much it. So really cool to see this different kind of scenery. Here's a photo of Molly and Nora whenever we made our first stop there. Nora was rocking this this pink and white flamingo hat, which was awesome. Keep her little head from getting sunburnt there, but yeah, like for this photo here, I basically just took my meter, went up to Molly, and just kind of held it like right here, exposed for the shadows, and there we go. That's all I had to do. Let's see here. Another landscape shot. I was interested in shooting a lot of this stuff really low. Again, I'm not a landscape shooter, so some of these photos you might see and cringe thinking that's one of the rules of landscape photography that you don't do. I have no idea. This is just literally what I saw, how I shot it, Can't really say much about it. These photos right here I was really happy with. These three donkeys just came out by the road as we were driving through Red Rock Canyon, and I was all excited. I loaded up some film. My Hasselblad wasn't loaded because I had just finished a roll from our previous stop. So I go and I load the film up really quick. And, I get out there and I'm shooting all these photos and I'm really close to these donkeys and I'm having a blast. And I think, okay, that's probably the last frame. And I look down at my frame counter and I'm on frame like 2 or 3. And what I had done was I loaded the film, and then instead of loading it and then advancing the film back to where it said 1, I just loaded it and went off shooting because I was so excited. So that whole time I thought I was getting all these really cool photos, and I was exposing black paper because I wasn't actually to the film yet. So yeah, that's how excited I was after shooting with this camera for, at least 3, maybe 4 years now. Yeah, I still forgot to do that. So regardless, I did happen to get some photos. I shot that entire roll, afterwards, and, I was happy with the photos here. I really like the photo of the 3 here, but in particular, I love this photo of just the one single donkey. I just thought the light looked really good on him. I like the shadow coming off of his face right there, going off of the ear. I just really like the way that looked. Again, another photo of Molly and Nora. You're going to see a lot of photos of them because, they're like everything. This one right here, I'm not too crazy about the photo, but I did want to share it anyway just because with this gravel right here in the front, you can see how bright that is. I mean, the sun was like really, really high up in the air. You can see with the shadow, they're pretty short kind of shadows off of this fence here. The sun was really high up, just beating down, not a cloud in the sky. and there's still detail in this gravel here. And this was exposed for the shadows with the film rated at 200. So that's a lot of exposure there, and you still have good detail there. Just wanted to make sure I showed that. Like I said, not crazy about the photo, but I just wanted to show that you can still pack a lot of exposure in there. Another photo, just kind of looking out, this is from the very first stop we made through there. This is one of my favorite photos probably ever of Nora, just because her expression, it almost looks like she's winking at me, and her outfit and pulling on her feet like she always does. I just love this photo. Another one here, kind of close up, similar thing. I've been really interested in shooting really close up, kind of tight portraits of Molly and Nora together. I don't know why, but I really like the way this one came out. Some more 35mm here, just as we were driving through, just typical stuff. Not a whole lot to say about each photo. I don't have like a story behind everything. I just wanted to kind of show you guys some of my favorites. Again, Molly and Nora together. This one here, you can see that on top of, the exposing for the shadows like I was, you can see a lot of light bouncing up on them, and that's because the light was reflecting off of the gravel right below them. So that in itself was adding a ton of light, on top of everything. This photo here, this is one of my favorites from the trip. This is my buddy Chris with his son Giovanni. And Chris, him and Lacey and his son, they were driving us through and kind of showing us some different stuff around Vegas that you don't, typically hear about whenever you go to visit Vegas. And they were taking us out to see this big graffiti piece called the Wheel of Misfortune. And you can look it up online, find out all kinds of information on it. It's pretty cool, but I just wanted to see it because it was so big in person. And, I wanted to shoot some photos of it because it had a really bright, kind of vivid color to it. But we were walking out there, and, Chris was just holding his son's hand, and I just shot some photos. And I love that you could see Giovanni was showing a little bit of crack because he forgot to put on a belt that day. Kids being kids made me laugh. And, I sent this to Chris whenever we got the film back, and he loved it. It's cool to be able to shoot photos like that of your close friends with their kids. It's just, I know how important it is for me to have photos of Nora, so being able to do that for other people, I'm shooting photos of my friends and their families as often as possible. Another photo of them walking here. This photo is a little bit out of focus, but I kind of liked it. Similar with another photo, which I'll get to in a minute, where I pretty much completely missed focus. Giovanni was running by, but I actually liked the photo. Here's a photo of him just kind of digging through this little concrete wall and seeing what he can find. Kids being kids, pretty typical stuff. This photo right here, Giovanni was walking by, and I was focusing at f1.8, and I realized it was out of focus, but I shot the photo anyway. Not sure why, but just the light and the shadow, kind of in that corner there. I really like the way this photo turned out. I don't know what it is about it, but I love it. This was kind of on our walk out there. It's not the actual Wheel of Misfortune piece. It's just something, kind of on the outside of it. I was just trying to shoot photos of, showing a lot of the scale of this area, but also seeing just kind of the surrounding areas off in the distance there. Here's another photo just from our walk out there. Here's some photos from the Wheel of Misfortune that I shot with the Hasselblad. Yeah. Here's a photo of Giovanni just kind of taking it all in, catching some wind on both ends there. This one made me laugh. And I love this photo here of Giovanni where he's just excited. I think Chris was down there doing something, making him laugh or something. But just the look of excitement on his face I thought was awesome. And, he was picking up these old spray paint cans as we found around there. And, it was interesting to see a kid kind of in a scene like that. I really liked that. This photo here was shot over in Bonnie Springs, and Nora was terrified because I was taking photos of a peacock. We were really close to it, and the peacock ended up cawing, making their sound. And if you've ever heard that, it's extremely loud. Scared the absolute life out of my daughter. She was screaming and bawling her eyes out. So this was taken right afterwards. You can tell Nora was over it. And, Molly was very ready to kind of get out of there. And I was too, because Nora, she was not having it. Once that peacock started, then like 10 of them surrounding us, they all started doing it. And she was terrified, so we took off out of there. Here's a shot of the peacock that, scared the life out of my daughter. I just like the way the angle of the peacock with the feathers and everything hanging down. I really like that kind of composition to go along with the branches there in the tree. I thought that was a really cool shot. Another close-up shot of the peacock. Just the color on those things are unreal. Some more photos just as we were kind of walking through Bonnie Springs. Again, the light there was just awesome. Tons of light and really, really pretty to work with. Completely different kind of light than we're used to in Ohio. Photo of some roosters. We're kind of walking around there. This little totem pole thing, honestly, the little bear at the bottom of this totem pole, it made me think of our dog Rusi, and I missed our dogs at the trip, so I shot this photo just for that reason. Some cactus here, cacti, however you want to say it. These stuffed people, I don't know what the whole deal is here, but I thought they looked cool, so I shot some photos of them. Old Nevada or bust, that's where Bonnie Springs is. And yeah, while we were out there in Bonnie Springs, I actually saw this Kodak film sign. The place was closed, so I'm not sure if they actually had any Kodak film in there, but I saw this old Kodak film sign, had to shoot a photo of it, and love the way the tones came out in this, especially up in the shadows, kind of underneath the roofing there. Really liked that. And the last photo here is my buddy Phoenix. This was our friends Chris and Lacey. This is Lacey's son, Phoenix. And Phoenix just turned 11 years old, and while we were there, I was shooting photos, and he was just kind of interested in what I was shooting, the cameras I was shooting with. And I was actually taking a photo with my FM2, and he just kind of walked up underneath me, and I had my M6, around my neck, and he just kind of picked it up and started shooting with it. So I actually gave him the camera and showed him how to, use a rangefinder, which he took to in about 10 seconds, and immediately was, focusing quickly, taking photos of Molly and Nora. Really cool stuff. I had to get a photo of him, a 10-year-old kid with a Leica M6. I thought it was cool. Phoenix is an awesome kid. The photo he took, actually, I'll go ahead and share right here. I thought it was cool for a kid. And, a cool little moment between, Molly and Nora. So that's all the Portra 400 scans, that I'm going to be sharing anyway. Obviously, I shot a ton of stuff out there. And again, all I did was set my meter to 200, exposed for the shadows, and then I just had everything developed normally. And simple as that, I had great results. So now we'll go ahead and take a look at some of the Ektar 100 photos, and that I shot just a little bit differently. So as I was packing up my film for the trip, I decided to bring some Ektar 100 just because it had been sitting in the fridge for a while, and I knew I wasn't going to be shooting it anytime soon, and I figured we're going out to the desert, what the hell, might as well go ahead and try and shoot some. So what I did was I actually pushed this 2 stops. I didn't need to push it by any means, I didn't need a faster shutter speed or anything like that. I just wanted to see what would happen. I wasn't out there shooting for like a professional landscape portfolio or anything. I was just out there shooting and actually enjoying myself and, just seeing what I could do. So I pushed it 2 stops, but I actually metered it for 200. So I metered for the shadows and I set it to 200, but then I had the lab push it 2 stops. Why? Just because I wanted to see what I would come up with. I wanted to try something different. And I will be honest with you, I'm not crazy about the results. What I've found out afterwards is that when you overexpose Kodak Ektar, you really kind of introduce a lot of red. Whereas if you push it, supposedly you can actually get rid of some of that redness if you aren't overexposing it. So if I were to set my meter to ISO 400 and then have the lab push it 2 stops, I probably wouldn't have as much red in these photos. But, we were in Red Rock, and I figured, I'd go ahead and give it a shot and just see what I could come up with. Some of the photos I like, but not all of them. The first photo here, not too bad, but it's definitely not something I prefer. I definitely like the shot of this similar area on Portra 400 much more. As we got down into here where I was shooting some photos of, the shaded side of the rocks, kind of a little bit closer up, there was a ton of red reflected light in there to begin with, so overexposing the Ektar that way, definitely affected that. I'm not, too crazy about any of these photos, but again, I just wanted to share them with you guys just because. This one right here, a little bit less red just because of the rocks that I was shooting, but you can see up here at the top, just crazy red rocks. It's just, I don't know what it is, but all of the photos except for maybe 2 that I shot of Ektar 100, they like make me uncomfortable when I'm looking at them. It's like there's a lot of tension there that I don't like. I'm not sure if it's the composition or if it's just the color itself, but I'm really not crazy about it. This photo in particular, I really don't like. And I'm sharing this with you just because, I want you guys to see, what I did and the fact that I tried something different and figured, what the hell, I'll give it a shot, and I absolutely hate it. This photo in particular, though, I don't know what it is. Something about this photo, like, actually makes me nauseous. Can't stand that photo. This photo here I actually like. I don't know if it's necessarily the light, the composition, or what, but I really like the way this photo turned out. This is probably one of my favorite photos from the trip. oddly enough, because, you know, every other photo pretty much of Ektar push two stops I hated, but this one I actually really liked. There's kind of like a natural vignetting going on there. I really like that, and you know, I like this frame. Again, another one I'm not crazy about. I was just shooting different colors and things like that, different areas, just to kind of see what I could come up with pushing the film. I like this one here. There's almost like a purple kind of tint in some of these, some of the greenery down here in the ground. You know, not the best photo, but one I definitely don't mind. The other photos in particular, not crazy about. And one more photo here, you know, again, just kind of showing the different colors and, you know, how pushing the Ektar really handled that. But yeah, out of all of those photos, I only did this with one roll, or maybe two rolls, I can't remember. But yeah, just wanted to see what I could come up with, but out of all of that, really only one photo was I actually happy with. So those are the photos from Vegas. I obviously shot a ton with my Lomo Instant Wide, but I'm not going to share those here just because you guys see enough of those shots in the monthly 366 videos anyway. But yeah, I just wanted to make a video to kind of share my photos, talk about how I was metering, and, you know, hopefully help you guys out whenever it comes to shooting color negative film. I do want to do a big video at some point on metering and just kind of show the differences in the results, you know, actually meter for the highlights and then meter for the shadows and show you the results side by side. You know, I want to do a little bit more of that stuff because shooting color negative film is something I've been doing more and more lately, and you know, I've really come to enjoy it, whereas normally all I would shoot would be black and white. So yeah, if you guys have any questions for me, please leave those below in the comments. You know, I hope you guys like the video. If you want to critique the photos, which I'm sure some of you guys do, go ahead, you know, say what you will in the comments. But thank you guys, as always, for watching, and I'll see you guys next time.